slow, long, deep, steady breath. Keep it comfortable. Let your shoulders relax and your jaw relax, your belly relax. Stay close to your breath. And then whatever is coming up for you, whatever you're aware of, meet it with kindness. So if you're distracted or if you're feeling anxious or whatever might be there, can you meet it with kindness? Just letting it be as it is. No big deal. And we continue to breathe. So keeping your eyes closed if you can, but of course if you need to open them to orientate yourself, feel free to do that. We're going to move on to our hands and our knees. We're going to move on to all fours. And just move slowly if you can. Move kind of deliberately. And as you find yourself on your hands and your knees, beginning to just move really easily and fluidly in this position. Even as you move, can you stay aware of your breath, close to your breath? Feeling the body as you move. And the simple movement is just a way of beginning to really move into our bodies. This is such a huge part of being a human, is really being in the body. And our nervous system has so many techniques and ways of cutting us off from parts of ourselves. Move the head and the neck also. So there's no wrong way here. We're going to come back to center. Belly, lower back are relaxed. If there's any tightness or soreness around that, you breathe into those spaces. Push the knees apart and then relax. Press them apart without moving them, and then let them relax. And just pulse this action. Feeling it switching on the outer pelvis, the glutes. Think of your ribs like a balloon, and their inclination is to be kind of depressed, tight, to drop. So as you take a long, deep breath into the rib cage, notice that buoyant quality. And when it expands, there's a lightness, even though initially you're going to meet the resistance, the part that wants to stay small. But it's beginning to open with the breath, expand with the breath. Fingers have a gripping action which brings the weight forward from the wrists. And without moving the hands, try pulling them toward each other and even pulling them backwards toward the knees. Just feel into those engagements. And then let it soften again. We're going to try to maintain some of that quality of buoyancy, so you're continually re-establishing it as you breathe. And without moving the legs or the hips, we're going to walk the arms toward the right. So we're going to begin to arc to the right. So you have that stretch along the left side of the body, the waist, the sides of the ribs. You also might have a contraction around the right waist. None of it is forced. You're breathing into what you're meeting. In and out. Long deep breaths. And then let's come back through center. In the middle, you just take a moment, almost like we just want to recalibrate. Just come back to kind of neutral. Wait till you feel that sense of fullness in the ribs again, and then we'll walk the arms in the other direction. And the moment you tune into something that feels a little tighter or a little stuck, just pause and breathe into that. Perfect, we'll come back through center again. Okay, we're going to come all the way down onto our forearms. Interlace the fingers, walk the forearms close together. Maybe they'll come all the way in, but just bring them as close as they can go. And then just notice how the back broadens as you do that. Now, quite often the head will want to drop down, so I encourage you to, rather than lifting the head, which you'll notice if you lift your head quickly, you get that sense of contraction in the back of the neck. So that's a big habit for most of us. It overcompacts the back of the neck. So let the head drop down and then lift the neck up. Now if you press down through the elbows and forearms, it'll encourage the neck to lift. Once the neck is lifted toward the back of the body, then you can lift the chin to have a sense of the front of the throat is open. And I want you to breathe into that part of the back that feels stretched, around the shoulder blades, back of the shoulders, armpits, sides of the ribs. Just long, deep, steady breath into that space. So much of what we try to do through our practice is really switch on a lot of these little pockets that switch off. You know, when our body is in survival mode, it works in a very different way to when it's in freedom mode. So we're in this journey from survival to freedom. We want the whole system working. Now, I want you to stay connected to that part of the back. I want you to keep that sense of fullness in it. So you're pressing the forearms or elbows down to the floor. Try to stay as in this space as you can, but separate the elbows till they're under the shoulders. So you have to be a little bit more determined in the pressing down of the forearms to kind of keep yourself in the fullness of that upper back area. Keep the neck lifted. Now, if something gets tired or you need a break at any point of the practice, you just take a break. It's absolutely not about forcing. Quite often we'll tap into areas that are just not used to working. So, you know, they might decide, okay, I'll work for a little bit and then I need a break. And it's really important that we give ourselves permission to do that, and we're developing a sensitivity to meeting these places. Okay, so even as the back is full, the lower back and the belly begin to soften again. So that feels like a little dropping. And that dropping also then creates a sense of a tilting of the pelvis, where the base of the glutes, right down by the top of the hamstring, they begin to tilt upward as the top of the glutes, the sacrum area, begins to drop downward. So that deepens the arch in the lower back. Now, if you go too far in any one direction, the body will be very clear and it'll create pain. So it's a great way of knowing we're looking for something balanced. And breathe. Now, even though you're working, could you bring a little bit of shrugging through the shoulders with the idea of the space between the hips and the shoulders exploring length? So the tendency when you're working this way with the arms, with the shoulders, with the neck, the body tends to want to get small because it feels challenged. It wants to go into a protective positioning. And what we're doing, even though we're working, which is challenging, we're still looking for opening. Almost the idea that we're looking for cultivating a yes in the body as opposed to a protected tight no. Just a few more breaths here. Nice. Okay, we're going to come back up onto the hands. Now, as we come up into the hands, first thing we're going to do is a little work with the hands, the wrists and the forearms, just to wake these areas up. So if we bring the weight to the left hand, and we can lift the right hand and we make a fist. So you make a fist, finger over your thumbs, or excuse me, thumb over your fingers, and then we turn the fingers to face our legs, our body. And we just put that part of the hand down. So you've got kind of the base of the fingers and those knuckles in the palms. They're the anchor, they're your foundation, okay? So that part, the metacarpals, those knuckles at the base of the fingers, they're going to stay on the floor. The game is you keep the fist. So if you go too far into this, the fingers will open up. That'll tell you you've gone too far. The back of the hand, you're going to tilt toward the floor. Now you won't go very far before you're going to feel a lot of tightness in that area and up through the forearm. As you feel tightness, you just pause. And you breathe and you just give it time. You can rock toward the index finger and then over to the little finger. The deeper the elbow bends, the easier the stretch gets. So you just play around and you're finding these pockets of holding in your body. And the game is to meet them with sensitivity, with awareness, and this invitation then for these places that have been protecting us and keeping things tight to unravel themselves. It's almost like we're saying it's okay, it's safe. So just breathe. Nice. And then let's take that hand off the mat and just shake it out. Open and close it. And then put it down. And for a moment just close the eyes and just feel the two hands. Notice the difference. It might be subtle. But you notice the way that right hand has more of a kind of an anchored feel to it. A sense of the hand being a steadier foundation. And it's just because more of it is awake. So we do the same with the other hand. We make a fist. Turn the fingers toward us. Remember, the metacarpals are now the foundation, so we pivot on them as we rock the back of the hand, the back of the wrist toward the floor, and we just move it around a little. Rock index finger to little finger, just explore, feel. Okay, and then when you're ready, let's lift it, let's shake it out. Open and close it. And we put it back on the earth. And let's close the eyes again, just feel into the two hands. So in one way we're just working with our hands, but in another way, it's about foundation. It's about how we create foundation. And of course, foundation is synonymous with safety, or a lack of foundation synonymous with a lack of safety, which will create fear, anxiety. You know, that's what will promote the sympathetic nervous system running the show. So even such a simple thing like working into that, feeling the quality of foundation through the hands. You spread the fingers, you grip with the fingers, feel the work in the tips of the fingers, through the base of the fingers. Foundation strong and steady. Now, of course, these areas will get tired. They're doing work they're not used to doing, and we allow for that. Bend the elbows a few inches to the sides of the room without moving the hands. Pull them toward each other. Just notice the tone that you're creating. So muscle learning how to wrap around bone, how to hold bone. So the softer tissue is designed to hold and align your skeleton. The classical way of looking at the body is the opposite. The skeleton keeps everything in alignment when actually the opposite is true. So it's the softer tissue working more systematically in a more balanced way that actually aligns the skeleton, promotes either freedom or the lack of freedom in the body. Now I want you to keep that resistance. See, can you press the hands down, slowly re-straightening the arms, trying to bring the engagement with you. We'll take a break really soon. Push the earth away so much, you're getting into that broadness of the upper back again. The neck is also lifted like it was before. Breathe into that space of the back. Breathe for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, and then we relax. Okay, let's come up off the hands, right up onto the knees, up high. And when you get there, close the eyes, let the arms relax, let the belly relax, let everything relax, in fact. As little work as you can to be in this position. Close the eyes, notice your breath. Perfect. Let's open the eyes. We'll take the left leg forward. We're going to keep the foot slightly forward of the knee. Okay. Now, first thing we do, in fact, the first thing we do is we just pause and we notice the breath. Then feel into the foundation. This would be a great way to approach any moment in our lives, any experience. First, you feel the breath. It's just checking in, becoming present, feeding the part of you that is alive, you know. Again, this idea that so often we're not in the alive part, and that's what we're used to. That's so much of the habits of where we get stuck. So we breathe. A foundation, it's about reminding us we're anchored, reminding us we're part of something, reminding us we're connected. Now keep the feet active, and then very simple, we just begin to tilt the front knee forward, let the hips sink forward. The only issue tends to be the back knee for many people, so you can feel free to pat it. Equally, the more you work through the back foot, the more the weight is spread through the back of the leg, not accumulating in the knee. So you take your time. You get to pause wherever you feel like it's important to pause or necessary, and you breathe in that space. So, you know, all of these poses will incrementally bring us into somewhere a little bit more challenging, a little bit more challenging. And the tendency for the sympathetic nervous system is to want to get more and more uncomfortable and to react to that. So our practice is you go a little bit, you pause, you breathe. It's like you digest it, you metabolize this new place. And we're teaching that limbic area. We're teaching it. It's okay. It's okay. Keep the back foot active. Toes, toenails pressing down. A few more breaths here. Okay, so we'll let things come back, hips come back, knee come back. Take the front leg back and we'll step the other leg forward. Okay, again we just notice the breath. And through our practice, we do this stuff slowly and steadily, but the more you get used to it, it just happens. Feel into the floor, into the foundation of the body. Anchor into that. And then the front knee and the hips begin to sink, and you might go a little and pause and breathe. A few more breaths here. Okay, let's come on out. Let's go back to the first side again. Breathe. So the breath is the big integrator. This is why the breath is used as a tool for all kinds of different disciplines. The breath almost sews the different parts of us back together. It comes from the outside, it comes in. The breath is of this world and has that etheric quality to it also. So it brings the body, the mind, the emotions, the seen and the unseen. Feel into the feet as you let the front knee and the hips sink forward again. Breathe as if you could breathe right into wherever you notice the most tightness. Is the back foot still active? And if you were then, without moving, trying to pull your back knee and your front foot toward each other, try to create a little bit of engagement in that direction. A few more breaths. Okay. Let's go back to the second side again. Again, come back to the breath. To the anchoring quality of the feet. And even the idea of the willingness to think of the feet as your foundation, as your roots. To derive some sense of, I'm being held. This is how the limbic system learns, is not through rational thought, but through feeling. It's a feeling part of the brain. Take your time. Sink forward as you go. Breathe into what you're meeting. And then let's come back again. One more time, one last time, first side. Take your time moving into the pose. Breathe. Okay, we'll come out again. Last side. Again, we feel into the feet and slowly melt your way into the pose. Maybe you're aware of a difference in the two sides. Perfect, and we'll come on out. So we step the two legs back, and then we'll close the eyes, and as before, we just relax in this position. Let the attention be aware of your breath. Belly relaxed. Great, okay. We open the eyes. Let's take the left leg forward again, this time right angle, so ankle under knee. Left hand stays up on the knee, and we're going to bring the right hand down toward the floor, kind of hip distance apart, so or shoulder distance apart. Lay the right hand on the earth. Now as you do that, feel into the 2 feet again. So you get the toenails at the top of the back foot on the floor and the bottom of the front foot. Just feel into, anchor the feet. The tendency for these poses is the front, just like our bodies and our lives, the front overworks and the back disengages. So even here in this position, the idea that you wanted to stick your bum out a little, the idea that you wanted to maybe even create an arch in the lower back. Now, you're obviously going to feel a lot of holding in that front leg, hip, hamstring area. Bum goes back, and as the bum goes back, almost the idea that the belly, the sternum, the heart, the chest get to lengthen forward a little. You're just exploring. So you might have a little kind of shrug in the shoulders. Just keep it as fluid and simple as you can. And then with that length you're looking for in the front body, we're just going to turn slowly toward the front leg. Very simple. We go to whatever feels accessible. We're not forcing or straining. And just go to what you can and then breathe in that place. Now watch the tendency for the head to rush off and do its own thing. I want you to keep your head in line with the rest of your body. So you're kind of moving in the direction of the left shoulder stacking over the right shoulder, that kind of direction. And just breathe. That bottom hand, that right hand, you're not just dumping weight into the wrist or the heel of the hand, you're spreading the fingers, working the fingers. Breathe. Okay, keep the left hand where it is. Just look down at the right hand. Take it further to the right. Just bring it over further to the right. So the fingers are pointing toward the right. The fingers are spread. You very intentionally, as we did with the legs before, the feet before, anchor through the hand. The crease of your elbow, you can see it turns toward the little, or toward the thumb, that kind of direction. That just aligns particularly the humerus, the upper arm bone, as it connects into the shoulder girdle. Now again, the front body turns toward the front leg. This time we're going to take the left hand onto the left ribs, lower ribs. Thumb will be at the back and the fingers are forward. And just close the eyes. Breathe into that left hand. Just breathe, long, deep, steady breath. Now, can you press down through the right hand so those ribs that you're holding and breathing into actually begin to arc upward, as if you're pushing the left ribs up into the left hand? Just to whatever feels available. And when you get there, you pause and you breathe. Breathe into the tightness. Okay, release the left hand. Let's come all the way up. Let's step that front leg back. We'll take a moment with the two legs back again. Just close the eyes and relax. Notice what's moving through your body. You know, our bodies are such incredible, really they're an antenna for life, like they're a conduit for life. This incredible life force that's created everything in the universe and moves through us. And we've gotten so used to seeing ourselves and experiencing ourselves as these limited, dense, stuck beings. And it's not that that isn't, of course, part of the experience. And particularly as we get older, you know, there's that tightening in the body. But then these practices offer us this opportunity just to sense something else, something more fluid, something freer. And they're simply ways of reminding ourselves. Really, that's all our practice ever is. We create a space, we come into this space that is about reminding us. Reminding us. Okay, let's take the other leg forward. So right leg forward, right hand on the knee. We bring the left hand down. Now, if you feel like it's too far to go with the left hand, you can prop the hand up on a book or something to support you staying a little higher, and that's going to give you more freedom and mobility through the upper body. Usually when the torso, belly comes toward the legs, you know, the tendency is we get a little stuck. So feel free to play around with some height if you wish. And then in this position, you're noticing the breath, you're feeling into the foundation. Now you've got 3 parts of you connected to the earth. All of them are foundational. The idea of the bum goes back, the belly lengthens forward if that's available in any way. You breathe in this position. We we turn a little toward the front leg, whatever feels available. And again, you're meeting this with your breath, with your awareness, with that quality of spaciousness. Breathe. Notice if the chin has gone to the chest. Quite often when you're opening one part, the body tends to want to close another. So that position we worked with the neck and head before, where the neck is moving back and the front of the throat is open. It's an openness which also obviously has a vulnerability connected to it. Because to open means to become more vulnerable. Now, the game is that vulnerability creates the capacity for life to move through us more freely. It moves the blocks, but often that protection, soothes us. And we're interested in shifting that. Can we get more open? Can we become freer and feel safe or feel comfortable or at ease in that freedom? A few more breaths here. Okay, so we'll look down at that bottom hand and we'll take the left hand over to the left, turn the fingers to point to the left, work the hand and the arm, and then we turn the front of the body toward the front leg. Now move the neck and the head as part of the body. So again, our modern predicament is the head is off doing its own thing. Take the right hand onto the ribs as before, breathe into the right hand, breathe into those ribs. All sides moving, front, back and sides. Push the bottom hand down, let those top ribs begin to arc up a little, open up a little. Breathe into what you're meeting. Couple more breaths. Perfect. Okay, so we'll release, we'll come back, step back again. Again, we'll just take a moment to close the eyes and just relax in this position, up on the knees. Belly soft, jaw soft, shoulders relaxed. Okay, first side again, left leg forward. Left hand on the left knee. We're going to bring the right down over to the right again. Before you bear weight on the right hand, set up the foundation. Yes, you move lightly and skillfully, fingers grip. Even as you grip with the fingers, just tilt the wrist to the heel of the hand a millimeter off the floor and anchor weight into the base of the fingers. And then let the heel of the hand be the last part to come down. Remember the crease of the wrist lines up at the thumb. Then we get to turn the front of the body toward the front leg. Again, we'll take the left hand on the left ribs. As you begin, we want to find fluidness. So we know that the inclination as we go somewhere that we're not sure about or might be a little difficult is to tighten. So shrug a little through the shoulders, just move a little to encourage a dilation or an opening of the body. Just whatever might be available, whatever might be hidden. Again, as you press down through the bottom hand, those top ribs, you're holding or arcing and opening and lengthening from the hip to the shoulder. Of course, not only are you breathing into those top ribs, you're also conscious of the lower ribs, breathing into that space. Now, the left hand is going to come to the back of your neck. I want you to cup the back of your neck. So even bring your chin a little closer to your chest as you do that. Cup the back of the neck. Hand has the whole of the neck. Now, you can see in your periphery vision that left elbow wants to maybe point up or point down. I want the left arm horizontal. And rather than move your head, I want you to press into the hand. So your neck presses back. Now, as the neck presses back, it moves the head and moves the body. So you're tilting, you're leaning back, leaning back, leaning back. Now, at the same time as you're doing that, that top elbow is beginning to stretch in the direction of the right or over to the right. You go to whatever feels available and you pause and you breathe. Maybe you could turn a little bit to the sky if that feels available. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's release. Come all the way back up, step the front leg back. Again, we're going to take a few moments just to have a few breaths here. Okay, open the eyes, right leg forward, right hand on knee, we bring the left one down. Take your time, feel into it, so give yourself time to get into the foundation, to set it up. And breathe, a little shrugging through the shoulders. We're interested in staying open, even though we're going to engage, that's going to create a sense of holding, a quality of solidity in the body, of support. We don't want that to be overly contracted. That's the old patterns, what we would call the old masculine in the body, in the world, rigid. We want strength, we want the strength of the masculine, but we want the freedom of the feminine. And both those qualities to be explored and met and balanced. Take the right hand to the ribs again. Breathe and arc and open that right side. Breathe into the body. We'll take the right hand to the back of the neck again. So cupping the back of the neck. Think of the center of the palm on the spine, on the cervical spine. Center of the palm right over the spine. Now, because you're holding the neck, you can feel where the head is. Is it dropping, tilting, twisted? Can it come back to neutral? That right arm is horizontal. And again, we're isolating the neck. So holding it gives us a greater sense of where it is in space. And you're pushing the neck back into the hand. Hand is almost like a wall. It's creating a bit of resistance for you. But you're letting yourself move back to whatever is available. And that top elbow begins to tilt left. And when you get to where you get to, just breathe, breathe. Breathe for 3. Breathe for 2. And then for 1. Okay, so we're going to release, we're going to step back. Okay, let's go back to the first side, left leg forward. So one more time. We'll keep the left hand up, we'll bring the right hand down again, over to the right. Again, as we lay down, there's a clarity and a determination through it. Each of the fingers, base of the fingers, heel of the hand, from the hand up through the arm into the shoulder, front of the body turning toward the front leg, hand on the ribs, again, introduce a little bit of pulsing through the shoulders. Every time we go in, there's going to be a little bit more freedom available. Again, the top ribs begin to open as you press the bottom hand down. Now, this time we're going to take the left hand to the crown of the head. So again, the center of the palm, right over the crown of the head. So the elbow is almost in front of your nose. Now, the tendency is the head will accommodate. It'll want to twist or turn. So again, I want you to bring it to neutral. It means the nose and the navel are along the same line. So you're trying to have a sense of that. Now the head is not great at knowing where to be, so sometimes even looking at the navel will clear that up. So you can feel the tips of the fingers kind of just around toward the back of the skull. You press the head into the fingers and the fingers into the head. So you create a little bit of resistance, head pulling back into the fingers. That also means that the top elbow, that left elbow, is kind of stretching out in front of you. So you're building resistance. Now breathe into what's engaging and expanding. And then again, can that top elbow tilt toward the right a little? It might be a millimeter, might be a little longer. And then can your head, neck, body as one piece turn a little to the sky? Now breathe, breathe, breathe. Get the toes working on the floor. Without moving, pull the back knee and the front foot toward each other. Breathe. Can you lean the head back a little? Can you lean back? Breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we release. We come all the way back, step back, close the eyes, pause. Okay, open the eyes. Right leg forward. Right hand on knee, left hand comes down. Again, you take your time. So this is really the signs of a great yogi. It's not making particular positions with your body, but it's how you move into it. Building strong, steady, clear foundation. And again, we take our time with it now, but it will pay off and become second nature. Like whenever I go to put my hand on the floor now, automatically I go from the tips of the fingers to the base of the fingers. And it just happens because I've practiced. So this is what we're after, is teaching the body how to work in ways that are supportive, that are integrated, balanced. Okay, we turn the front of the body toward the front leg. We'll take that right hand on the ribs. We just breathe and shrug a little through the shoulders. Press the bottom hand down. We see what's available, opening the top ribs up. Enjoy the breath. Okay, let's go to the crown of the head with that right hand. Feel the fingers on the skull. Press the skull into the fingers so that as the head presses back, the elbow presses forward. Big expanding breath into the ribs, that right elbow tilting toward the left. So again, the idea of the head leaning back, of the sternum lengthening. You might be able to turn a little to the sky. Work into the feet again. Pull the back knee and front foot toward each other. Breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, we release. This time, let's step back to hands and knees. And you just let things sway and move as they did the first time we were here. Very simple. Shoulders shrug, hips sway. Perfect. Lower back relaxing. As you breathe into the ribs and you shrug the shoulders, you're going to notice that there's more lightness. It's more accessible. It gets easier to find the lightness. This is a huge part of the practice, that so much of our unconscious experience is one of stuckness, heaviness, deadness. So it's that expansive quality that we're feeling into, which is perfect for this time of year as we come to the solstice. All about the light expansion, letting the light in. Okay, let's bring the two legs over to the left. Two legs over to the left side of the mat. So we can lower the hips down to the right. So the hips are heavy on the floor. Now the hands push the earth away. So that creates a little bit of lift in the upper body. Hips stay where they are. You're going to be obviously feeling a twist in the waist or in the ribs. Breathing into what you're meeting. Now if you feel like you can go a little further, we're not going to move, but as you push the hands down, the fingers are working, the hands are working, you're pulling the hands towards you. And that's going to intensify things a little bit more. And then just breathe into it. Long, deep breath. Can we give it a bit of time? Now, without moving the legs, if we went one little bit further, without moving the feet, pull the heels toward the hips. Without moving them. Don't want you to burn out, but just enough to feel it. 5, 4, 3, 2, and as you come to 1, soften. We're going to come back onto the knees. And as you come back to the knees, you just let things move a little. Breathe. Shrug a little through the shoulders. Nice and simple. Okay, so we bring the 2 legs over to the right. We'll lower the hips to the left. And a lot of these poses are like bus journeys, so you can hop out at whatever stop works for you. If this is far enough, you can pause here and breathe. If you want to try a little deeper, you're pressing the hands down and pulling them towards you. And then you're breathing into what you're uncovering. Whatever you're meeting in the body. And again, if you want to go a little further, without moving the feet, the heels pull toward the hips. Breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, and then begin to soften and come down onto that left shoulder. Now, I want you to have a pillow handy for your head, and if you need it, or if it's handy, you could also have a pillow between the knees and even one between the ankles. Two arms out in front of you. We've done this before. Knees are at right angles. Ankles are under knees. So the back of the leg has a right angle to it. Okay. Now, again, the tendency for our body unconsciously is to go into slightly overly contracted positions. So what we do is we consciously explore, can I open, can I lengthen, in whatever position I might be in. So particularly the lower side of the body, the lower side of the torso. So what I'll do is I'll lift my head and I'll shrug the bottom shoulder forward, and then I'll come back down. And usually there's going to be more space available. It just means that I'm in a position as I go into these twists where the vertebrae have more space, the discs have a more balanced space between them. Okay, hands are in prayer, arms stretch out in front of the heart. First thing is relax, breathe. Now the legs and the hips don't move. You slide your top hand forward along the floor, you stretch it out in front of you to whatever feels available. You'll notice the back of that shoulder expanding, so that's something we want to get into. And then very simple, as you slowly, and I want you to go slow motion, the top hand arm begins to lift up. And at the same time, as one movement, the head is rolling on whatever you're on, the cushion or the brick, and you're moving. Now the top hip, when you get to the very top pose, the arm's pointing up toward the ceiling, the top hip is going to want to tilt back with you as you begin to open a little bit more. Don't let that happen. So that'll give you a boundary, that'll tell you how far to go. So you let the arm begin to release behind. The head is moving. When the head says, I'm not going to move anymore, don't move the arm anymore. So the arm can go off and do its own thing, but I'm teaching it, or we're teaching it, to move in a way that's integrated, that's inclusive of the less dynamic parts of us. Now, when you get to the open, the big open part of it, you just pause and you breathe into what you're feeling. Breathe into what you're noticing. Couple of breaths here, and then slowly bring it all back to where you began. So as the hands reconnect, you just let everything melt. And then in your own time, we'll do 4 more on this side. Just slow, steady, fluid. Take a few breaths when you get to the full point. So take your time, and when you've finished 5 on this side, we'll move to the second side. So we'll do 5 on this side, and then we'll move on to our backs. So as you come onto your back, let's bend our two knees so the 2 feet are on the floor. Feet are about hip distance apart. We're going to take the arms up and we're going to wrap the arms around us. We're going to hug ourselves. So we're going to try to get the hands on the ribs as opposed to on the arms or shoulders. And then very simple, slow, deep breaths. Breathing into the hands, breathing into the sides of the ribs. Inhaling and exhaling. Now, as you're taking these deeper breaths, could the upper body, so we'll keep the legs and the hips heavy, could the upper body just rock a little from side to side? Just really simple movement. And as you're doing it, one shoulder lifts and then you roll down onto that shoulder, the other shoulder lifts. Could you gently shrug the lifted shoulder toward the ear and let it roll down to the floor, and then just, again, exploring not just the width, the broadness of the ribs, but also the length. Head moving with the torso. Still taking those long, deep breaths. And then coming back to center. Now we're going to keep the hands here just to encourage a sense of when the space is full. But bring the attention back down to the feet and spread the toes. Grip with the toes without moving your feet. Pull them toward your hips. Pull them toward you. So just notice that feeling from the feet through the legs into the hips. Like there's a magnetism between the heels and the hips, and then let it all relax again. And then do it again. And this time as you do it, can you press the bum down into the floor so you feel the arch in the lower back is there. Now again, if you go too strongly in any one direction, the body will feel pain. So I encourage you not to do that, just to explore it. At the same time, can you begin to press the back of the head into the floor? Forehead, face relaxed. And then just slowly tilt the chin a little further away from the chest. So the really strong parts I want are the hips and the head pressing down. Feet can be a little lighter. You might notice the back gets a little lighter on the floor. Can you keep what you've got going on and take some deep breaths to really expand the rib cage? The broadness of the shoulder blades, sides of the ribs widening. Just a few long deep breaths. One more. And then let everything soften. Let the arms or elbows release down to the floor. Hands can rest on the belly somewhere and just relax for a moment here. Okay, one more time. Spread the toes, grip with the toes, pull the feet towards you, press the bum down, press the back of the head down. Tilt the chin a little away from the chest. Now this time with the arms go straight up. You're looking up at the hands. Initially they're in shoulder distance apart. Hands are in a kind of a cup shape, as if you had your fingertips, thumb tips on the ceiling. And I want you first to breathe wide into the ribs, breathe into the armpits. And as you feel the ribs filling, press the fingers into the ceiling. And then keep the resistance, but widen the arms a little bit more than the shoulders. So the arms are kind of in this V shape. And keep the resistance, And bring the arms over the head about halfway toward the floor. Halfway. So you're not going to go all the way. But keep extending out through the arms, through the fingers. Keep the work with the feet and the legs. Keep pressing the bum and the head down. Throat open, forehead relaxed, jaw relaxed. Now maintain this for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then soften. Bring the hands back to rest on the belly. Bring the soles of the feet together. Let the 2 knees drop apart. If the legs are sore here, either pad underneath the thighs or extend the legs out. Just notice the breath, no work. Very simple. Slide the left leg out. Slide the right leg out. Let the feet stay wider than the hips. Let the feet fall naturally. And then we'll do the same with the arms. We'll take the left hand arm away from the body, palm facing up, and the right arm away from the body. So you have space between the arms and the torso. 3 deep breaths, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let yourself sink into the earth. human is to belong. Belonging is a circle that embraces everything. If we reject it, we damage our nature. The word belonging holds together the two fundamental aspects of life, being and longing. The longing of our being and the being of our longing. Belonging is deep. Only in a superficial sense does it refer to our external attachment to people, places and things. It is the living and passionate presence of the soul. Belonging is the heart and warmth of intimacy. When we deny it, we grow cold and empty. Our life's journey is the task of refining our belonging so that it may become more true, loving, good, and free. Without moving, let yourself become aware of your breath. And then take some deeper breaths. And as you do that, if you feel like stretching in any way, and then when you're ready, bend the knees one at a time and roll over to the right side and get comfortable here. Pause and be still. Notice your breath. And then bring yourself up to sit. So get comfortable in your seat and we'll close our eyes. Notice your breath again. So the sound is Om. Take a deep breath. roads lead to this space. Eventually all roads lead us home to the heart. Just to notice this space, to feel it. And then to ourselves, to each other, we bow. Namaste. Good work, guys. Well done.